Hello, my name's Loretta, and I'm 77 years old. That's right, 77, and I'm a fan of the booth. Sinister One, Keith Hayes. That's right, my favorite. He's like a adorable Sammy Davis Jr., but for the new age kids. And everybody that loves sports, because I love all that New England sports. The Boston Celtics, the New England Patriots. I don't even give a damn about the Jets or the Giants.
Actually enjoy treating your customers like a piece of shit, because that's how I felt when I went to the Alamo Draft House. Okay? You know what? I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to text in your little crappy ass theater. It was too fucking dark in that place for me to find my seat, alright? I was using my phone as a flashlight to get to my fucking seat. So excuse me for using my phone in USA, United States of America, where you are free to text in a theater. I was not aware that I couldn't text in your theater, all right? I've texted in all the other theaters in Austin, and no one ever gave a fuck about what I was doing on my fucking phone, all right? And it was on silent. It wasn't on loud. It wasn't bothering anybody. You guys obviously were being assholes to me. And I'm sure that's what you do, you know, to rip people off. You take my money, and then you throw me out. You know, I will never be coming back to your Alamo Draft House or whatever. I'd rather go to a regular theater where people are actually polite. And, you know, I'm going to tell everyone about how you are. And I'm pretty sure you guys are being on purpose. So thanks for making me feel like a customer. Thanks for taking my money.
Dead ass. Serious. I would hate me too. Look at me. Think he the shit. This nigga don't even increase his Air Forces. What the f***? Shut the fuck up. You lying.
If we're honest, who wants to roll less travel? It's harder to teach us. Who wants the difficult route?
If you support safety in our schools, you will support the National Guard to come in here and keep our students safe.
People say, these students have changed. These students are lazy.
Your children aren't learning disability, they lazy.
Get students engaged so they don't want to skip class, so they want to be in their classrooms.
There are teachers in this profession who should not be teachers. There are teachers in this profession who don't care about children.
These students don't want to learn. No, the adults have changed. See, the parents don't have the back of the teachers.
He ain't slow. He ain't got no learning problem. His parents didn't give him a foundation.
Young people, as a nation, we sorely need the depth and breadth of your intelligence, character, and also your clarity.
I think about, in particular, the history of people that look like me who are getting cheated.
So if you're asking me right now as an educator, what's wrong with these kids? There's nothing wrong with them.
Teachers are the most important people in the world.
They're whimpering in fear, and we're sitting here scared of them.
Because if they get it right, they'll change the world, because they're in charge of the most important resource, and that's our children.
You see that cop out? You see that cop out?
Van Buren Records.
Van Buren's a brotherhood. Started in high school and grew to be something special. Not too many's gotten this type of opportunity. Haiti's where we're from. Geno's is where we come together. Where we break bread. Van Buren's here to change a lot of the narrative. Trying to change the culture. Show the world what Brockton's really made of.
Probably be doing too much, yeah. Probably be doing too much, Probably be doing too much, yeah. Probably be doing too much, Probably be doing too much, yeah. Probably be doing too much, Probably be doing too much, yeah.
Brockton, New Balance, Snake.
Oscar Mike Radio is a proud podcast partner of Reach Across America Radio, heard every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're also big supporters of the nonprofit I Got Your Six, 2 Lives at Once. And with every wreath you sponsor through Oscar Mike Radio, $5 goes back to this great organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders battling PTSD. 2 Lives at Once pairs these brave men and women together with dogs rescued from kill shelters. In this way, 2 lives are saved at the same time by saving each other. Donate now. Go to reachacrossamerica.org Oscar Mike Radio to help. That's wreathsacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. I'm your neighbor from just down the street. I also ride a motorcycle, so please check twice. Save a life. Motorcycles are everywhere.
For more information on sharing the road, visit mass.gov/RMV.
This is Deanna Marie, and you're watching The Booth, a Sinister One production on Hoobazoo.com.
Before this night is over, one of you shall betray me 3 times.
No. Master, how can you feel that anyone here would betray you? You who we would follow even unto our death.
Yes. Does everybody want soup?
Please, we must talk. This may be our last supper.
Hey, it's my first order. Oh, look, one little question, I'll let you all go. Are you all together, or is it separate checks?
Please, go away. Go away.
All right, okay.
Yea, so you say. But one who sits amongst us has already betrayed me this night.
Who?
Who can it be?
Judas! Do you want a beverage? Try the mulled wine. It's terrific.
No! Leave us alone! Go!
All right. Jesus.
Yes.
What?
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 Yes.
Jesus.
What?
Yes.
What?
You said what?
What?
Nothing.
Ah, Leonardo.
Buongiorno. Just a second.
It's all right. We ordered a group portrait.
Ah.
Yeah, Fernanda, this is no good. All I got is a box. Okay. Everybody want to be in the picture? Get up and go to the other side of the table. Come on.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Yeah.
Can you dig it?
You like some motherfucking action heroes in it. Yeah.
This is blasphemy. This is madness. This is the booth.
Step into the twisted mind of my literature, designed to get into the depths of your mind, administer sickness around to mimic the lights of snuff cinema. What you must get into, you're nothing but pups. Remember you Homer and Happy Simpson, son. Nothing Ithaca. Darkers like the northern half of Korea's peninsula. ESP your island like the booth, something sinister. ESP your island like the booth, something sinister. ESP your island like the booth, something sinister.
Testing 1, 2, 3. And Joshua, give me a sound check.
Check.
Okay, it's you. My mic. For some reason, my mic was not in. Oh, that's right. OBS did have an update. That's my bad. Whenever there's an update with OBS, you got to reconnect your inputs and outputs. Shame on me. That was me. And I'm usually a stickler about that, but I know it happened. So busy with, and we'll get into this. My first guest is up there. I got to thank everybody for tuning in for last week. All my supporters, my guest Alison Mills of the Shriners Children Boston Hospital. Our ride was this weekend. It was a big success. Also, Nathan Machado was on the show. We kicked back our thoughts and predictions about the Deadpool Wolverine movie. We'll touch base on that in the entertainment part of the booth. But let me get into my sponsors before I get into the show. What's going on? All the people in the chat already. Doug Macedo, what's going on? Artie Briggs, thank you for being in the chat. Babu is watching. Please, Babu, don't be one of these fake accounts where you're going to attach crap and say the content is yours when it's not yours. So Babu, if that's you, you can get out of here and just...
Jesus! God! Tap dancing Christ!
Stay out of my stay out of it. Billy Atwood, what's going on, man? Thank you for tuning in. And as I said, my first guest is here with me right now, but let me get into my sponsors. Michael Douglas Barreto, I'm a gamer. If your controller drifts, your Xbox controller drifts, send it out to him. It's back 24, 48 hours. Look, I sent one in that I dropped down the stairs. He fixed it. I was back to gaming 24, 48. I had one, my dog chewed my Mandalorian joystick off, Joopy, back to gaming 24, 48 hours. MDB Electronics. Also, my artist, Vianna Marie, 494,000 streams available now. It's Personal. Her new album, as you saw, is coming out, Blacklisted. Want to make sure we pump these up. And whoever's listening to Vianna Marie's music in Worcester, kudos to you. Kudos to you. We see that whoever's listening to her music in 1 month listened to like 31 of her songs in Worcester. I'm just letting you all know something. We meet and see a lot of people out there, and a lot of people will say, oh yeah, I pump your music all the time. Look, don't lie to us. Don't lie to people and say, you listen to the music. Wanna know why? Because I watch the analytics. And the analytics go right down to what phone you're listening to. and where. We can zero in on exactly where you're listening and what device you are listening to. If you say, if you live in Mattapan and you're saying, I listen to her music all the time. No, you don't. No, you don't. Mattapan never shows up on our screen. Stop lying. Stop lying. You know? It's one of these ones.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God.
Rhode Island showed up.
Stop lying.
I went through the playlist, so I know Rhode Island came up.
Yep, Rhode Island did come up. And it tells me exactly where in Rhode Island. It comes right down. So tactical target systems. Those are the zombie targets that you see me with. I actually got to get with Don Robinson and get this size locked down, 12 by 18. I love BostonSports.com. Check out those shirts right there. And then Kimberly Ann Empowerment Photography and Underwatch Protective Services, Mobile Patrol, Foot Patrol, Armed Guards, Unarmed Guards, Event Security, Private Security, and reach out to Daryl Smith. And as we get into the news booth real quick, and before we get into our first guest, I got to thank everybody who showed up for the Yaz Chicken Brockton Slingshot Takeover on Friday night. 13 to 14 of the crew showed up, supported this event. Also to those who showed up at IHOP for breakfast on Saturday morning before we pulled out. And then thank you everybody for making the ride a success. Applebee's, Brockton Police Department, 100 Prints at the Vault. All you guys who showed up and showed out on Saturday. Was a great time. I'm pretty ecstatic. And before we get into the first story in the news booth, let's get into my first guest up in the upper left-hand corner. This guy was on here before. I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we're going to talk about why this guy is on the show. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, I'm Joshua. I run Horror Depot, and I have quite a few events coming up.
First one, as you guys can see up there, the banner. Also, we have the promo. I cut this promo for him and had this promo playing every week leading up to this event, which takes place on August 11th. And it's the Dark Arts Festival 2024. As you guys can see there on the promo banner, oddities, artists, publishers, filmmakers, and costume contest is going to take place Sunday, August 11th, 11 to 6 p.m. at Battleground Z, which is located in Lincoln, Rhode Island. $10 admission. Scan the QR code, buy your tickets. A lot of things are going to be there, but I'm going to let this guy talk about it because he knows it better than me. And your boy Sinister One, I'm going to be in the house because there's some stuff going on that you guys might want to support and see me in.
Yeah. You know what? We'll save that news. But yeah, the festival itself, inside Battlegrounds. It's all inside, air conditioned. Yeah, food, beverages. They got a full bar. Dark Arts Margarita is going to be available. They give me my own margarita. They're going to have laser tag. I have 70 vendors there. There's going to be Radiant Light Healer there. Some oddities are going to be there. Filmmakers are going to be there. Artists galore. There's so many artists and they're so unique. Everything from dolls to paintings to one guy does sneakers. Dude, I'm so psyched. I have two world premiere films. I have some special guests. Penny Dreadful's coming. She does all. She's a horror host, and she also does the Collinwood podcast, which is all about dark shadows. So she's going to be hosting the costume contest. I have a children's costume contest at 12 and an adult costume contest at 4 p.m. sponsored by Scary Acres. So yeah, there's a lot going on, man, a lot. I also have paranormal investigator Tom D'Agostino is going to be in the house. He's doing a live performance with all his ghost hunting equipment. Nice. So that's real cool. Yeah, I'm excited about that. He's such a nice guy. I have Bob's gonna be there. He does all the Godzilla artwork. If you don't know Bob's work, like he is insanely good. I'm so excited. Monster Expo is gonna be there. They sponsored the event. They have the Monster Mag, Scars Magazine sponsored. They're going to be there as well. Candy's Curiosities, the #1 oddities place on all of Rhode Island. So it's like a stacked event.
I just actually saw the Monster Mag people at Plastic City Con. Last week. They had a whole table with some great stuff. But whoever it is that runs it, he didn't want to come on camera. He was like, I don't go on camera. So
he hates it.
But they had some great stuff, some great mugs, some products there. You know what's funny? Oh, got more people in the chat. What's going on, Dan? I hope you're real too. We got a Babu and we got a Dan in the chat. Oh, Dan's a real person?
Yeah.
So, okay.
So I got to be in a movie called Graveyard Shark.
Oh, that trailer we shared on this show.
Yeah,
yes.
So I'm actually doing a showing September 7th in the Capitol Theater in Arlington, Mass. And Dan was the guy who played the shark the day that I went there to shoot. So what's up, Dan? Dan
played the I saw the shark. That was a crazy suit, man.
It's a crazy movie.
And yeah. We shared the trailer on this show. Until that, you had that premiere for it. Shared the trailer on the show, so it was good stuff. So Dan, thank you for being in the chat. He's actually a real person, so I don't have to cuss him out for being
you can cuss him out anyway.
Sometimes fake accounts be popped up here. Like I said, Babu is but Dan's real. So everybody who's out there, before you jump all over and report him, Dan is real. Not report him. Good stuff. Thank you for tuning in, man. And again, you know, it's funny. I was looking over the flyer, and they did have a question for you. I was surprised. I'm like, you have a Dark Arts Festival, you have these oddities and stuff. I'm surprised you don't have piercing and tattoos at this event. Vendors for that. Being in Rhode Island, too.
So Battlegrounds is a kid-friendly environment. It's a PG show. So also the licensing and all the stuff required in Rhode Island to do tattooing.
Enough said.
At an event, like, yeah. I will have tattoo artists there, like Unicorn Ink is right next door, and they're rocking a spot at the event. And they'll book an event, they'll book a tattoo. They're literally right next door.
Now, could they actually just show up and do henna? Would that be acceptable?
So I have Glitter and Gore is going to be there, and she's doing face painting for everybody.
Nice.
I do have a henna lady, but she's going to be selling her dolls instead. She was like, I don't want to do henna. I just want to sell my dolls. And I was like, okay.
Ooh. Sounds like
that's mystical.
Might have some creepy dolls, right? I'm pretty sure Dark Arts, she's got some creepy. I hope it's like some scary, creepy Trilogy of Terror type dolls.
They are. She does amazing stuff. Like she made one look like Pennywise, and they're 100% unique. And they're not super expensive. And I'm like, I might end up buying a couple. I'm not gonna lie.
I tell people sometimes when you go to some of these festivals and stuff, sometimes the stuff that you can find that people make are better than the crappy commercial crap that's in the stores that are being flooded to everybody. Like last week, I was at the Plastic City Comic Con, and there was a woman there, Stitches and something, and I have her card here. But she makes custom bags for people, and it was Stitches and I forget what they were. Her company, and I apologize.
Stitches or witches?
Stitches and something. It was. Oh, here we go. Skull and Stitch. Custom-made handbags and purses. She made like comic books. She had like a Stormtrooper bag that she had made. And
oh, that's awesome.
Pretty cool stuff. Skull and Stitch. It was really cool stuff. And these are people that, you know, they're just, you know, business people out of their homes doing these great things, and they're not, you know, commercial, and it sucks because it's good product. It's just that they don't have this, you know, huge financial backing. You know, I share the law story on the legal booth. We cover law stuff, and I shared a story 2 weeks ago about I think it was Gucci or one of these bag companies or whatever, but they were selling the bags for $9,000, and it only cost them $50 to make. So in Italy, they have this huge lawsuit now because these women and everybody have been buying these bags for $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, and they're only spending pennies on a dollar to make them, and they're making all this profit. So just crazy stuff. Whoa! Guess who's in the chat? We were just talking about this, gentleman, and I was actually with Joshua last weekend. Like I said, I had a busy weekend this weekend, busy weekend last weekend. On Sunday of last week, I was actually able to film a movie, and I see Bryce Louie is in the chat with us. Bryce Louie, I'll let you talk about him. I talked about him last week, and I'll let you talk about this guy, Bryce Louie. I was actually to cross off some things off my checklist. I wasn't a black guy in the movie because I was in costume, but I did get to die, and I got a little bit of a fight scene. So I'm pretty happy for Bryce for putting me in that part. I'm really happy. I got to sing Happy Birthday in a demonic voice. I don't know if you guys notice how happy I was when I was singing that Happy Birthday song. I was happy as hell, bro. I was like a little kid.
You killed it too. Like your voice, a lot of people don't realize when you're filming, you need to project your voice really loudly so the camera picks it up and all the microphones. Dude, you were spot on. So creepy. I wish I had dual cameras so I could get like another angle, but man, that was super cool. Bryce. So Bryce and I go back a little bit. He's done every single event I think I've done. He's been at every Dark Arts Festival. I did some pop-ups, and he's always part of. Check out the Bryce show. It's on YouTube. He does the Puppet Bunch. He does Wacky's Wonders, which is where this film came from. So this was originally going to be Wacky's Wonders 5. And we talked about it, and I said, well, you know, why don't you make something that can stand alone instead of going all the way down? And he was like, okay. And man, he wrote the script, and we went through it a couple of times. And as you see, he had this drive and this determination to get it done. And people turned out, man. People really came out to support, and they just showed up and they did it, you know. Thank you so much. Like, I've been working with him for a while. He had a full cast, and then the cast kind of dropped. So we were left with no like actors. And he had to do camera because the cameraman he had dropped. But we made it work. You work with what you got, and he didn't stress it. He just did it. And man, I'm super thrilled. Like, nothing better than animatronic killer clowns. Nothing better.
Right.
I'll tell you. So, and the big news is Robotic Circus is going to premiere at the Dark Arts Festival. It's going to be the world premiere. Bryce and I actually messaged him today. We were talking today, so I'm really excited about it. And then afterwards, there's going to be a Q&A with the cast and crew. So, you know, Keith, hopefully you'll be part of that. but yeah, man, I'm so excited to see it come to life. So yeah.
I'm there. Margaret Langoy's pair just joined the chat. What's going on, Margaret? For joining the chat, you're watching the booth, and again, Bryce, man, good stuff. Can't wait to see you on August 11th. And I'm just pretty ecstatic, you know. And I got to thank my brother Kevin, who introduced me to Joshua, you know, a while back. He says, hey, you know, my brother always reaches out to me, and he's like, hey, you gotta get this guy in the show. My brother. The only time he reaches out to me about this show is when he wants me to have somebody come on, and usually everybody he's had to come on this show has been awesome. That they've been repeat people. Joey Hawkreader, who did these books, he had come on the show. It was a good time that came through my brother, and then my brother passed your information to me along, and you know we've been now you're on your second time, and actually we did something together with Bryce's film, so you know it's just great stuff. So I got to give a big shout out to my brother for making this connections.
Kevin, you're the man. Yeah, such a sweet guy too. Every time we see him, big hugs to my wife, my kids, like super respectful to everybody. Always spot on, Kevin. Love you, man.
Yeah, you know, he's you know, me and him, we grew up, and you know, horror movies have been our thing. You know, that was one of the things our mother had. Our mother was inbred us to horror films out the get-go. I remember one of our earliest memories of horror films. I remember my mother making us stay up till midnight on Halloween because Channel 38 was showing Night of the Living Dead for the first time on TV. I remember we watched this film at midnight on Halloween. And I remember when we were done watching it, we all ended up sleeping in the same bed because we were so scared. Because my mom made us watch this movie. And then my other memory of my mom was she took us in 1976. My mom took me and my brother to see the movie Carrie. Stephen King's Carrie. And I remember us going to the theater, and I remember the end of the movie when the hands come out the grave, and I remember my brother going into absolute freak out mode in the movie theater when the hands come out the grave. And I remember my mother saying, "Shut up, stop yelling, stop crying, it's only a movie." But for
every time I see Kevin from now on, I'll be like,
my mother took us to see The Omen. My mother took us to see, and it's funny because you know you look at the people now when they bring their kids to movies, and you kind of I'm like, Jesus, I'm like, my mother must have looked like the complete bad mom, you know, taking us to see all these. Like, we saw whenever a brand new Vincent Price movie would come out, The Abominable Dr. Fives and all those movies.
That was a good one.
At the Symphony Theater in Boston, my mom we would be there. We would be there to see those. I remember my mom taking us to see some of these old cult classic, like the movie Deranged. I don't know if only certain people know about the movie Deranged.
Yeah, that's a
How
old were you when you went there?
We were young. We were super young. We saw Deranged. We saw The Frogs. Remember the movie The Frogs? Night of the Lupus.
Yeah.
With the giant. My mom took us to see the rabbits. Night of the Lupus. My mom took us to see Kingdom of the Spiders.
Nice.
There was no holding back. My mom took us to see Last House on the Left.
You know, that explains a lot about you guys now that it's all coming together now, I'll tell you.
Yep. Twisted, what was this movie? Twisted something. And the kid it was like a Jekyll and Hyde movie. Twisted something, and the kid cut the teacher's head off with one of those paper cutter things. Twisted something. I forget the name of that horror movie back in the day.
Games?
No, not Twisted Games. It was Twisted something, and it was this kid. He was picked on. He developed this thing. He became like this Jekyll and Hyde, and he was killing people. And then I remember my dad and mom, they took us to see Rabid, David Cronenberg. we saw Rabid. My mom took us
that movie was way ahead of its time.
Rabid
People getting addicted to plastic surgery, right? Like,
yep. And then Scanners. I remember my dad took I remember Scanners came out and you couldn't see it in the movie theaters. It was a strict R. Actually, it was a not rated. When Scanners first came out, it was not rated because of the head exploding scene. So I remember my dad took us to the theater, the drive-in, and I remember it was the double feature. We saw Scanners with Food of the Gods.
Nice.
Classic. So yeah, I sorry I got, but we've seen it. When we talk dark arts and horror stuff, me and my brother have, woo, you have no idea.
That's awesome, man.
I see people getting ready to debate horror movies with my brother on his page, and I'm like, oh boy, you don't want to do that. You really don't want to start coming after my brother on horror movies. Please don't. The things we've seen.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you can mention some of that stuff to him. He'll probably laugh. Yeah, it was great stuff.
I plan on texting him as soon as we're done and being like, "Oh, Mister, you didn't tell me you saw Scanners. Like, what's happening here?"
Yeah. Dan says everyone remembers their first horror film. His was Nightmare on Elm Street. He was like 9 years old, and he says he had this awesome uncle. And he says the scene where he stretches his arms out. Everybody remembers that down the alleyway. His arms 8 feet with that smoky backlighting, the claws scratching the bricks, just stuck with me. And again, let's talk about that. The Nightmare on Elm Street. That was New Line Cinema's first movie out the gate, low budget, and nobody knew what was about to become, prepared for. And it ended up becoming a franchise. And then New Line Cinema's next movie after that was another home run with Blade. Marvel's first R-rated movie, and people forget that Blade was actually the first MCU movie. When Marvel stock went public, Blade was their first movie, so people tend to forget that was the first one. But yeah, New Line Cinema was put on the map because of that Nightmare on Elm Street.
And they stayed on the map because of Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's right.
They stayed for a while. Yeah, New
Line. They
did a really good job.
They had some weird things, and I'm surprised. I always felt like People Under the Stairs was a weird one, and I'm hearing that Jordan Poole is doing a remake of People Under the Stairs.
Ooh.
So, and Jordan Poole has been kind of hitting the horror out. He's been hitting it out the park. So I'm like, okay, let's see what kind of spin can Jordan Poole bring to People Under the Stairs? It was.
I don't know, but I really want to see
weird movie. That was a really weird movie.
Yeah. There's so much you could do with that movie if you really wanted to, emphasize the horror in that. I mean, the storyline alone was so twisted, and I remember watching that the first time I saw it. I was like, "What is happening right now?" Like,
do you think that was ahead of its time?
Why is it happening?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
definitely ahead of its time. So I watched it with somebody, and they referred to it as Flowers in the Attic. They got like Flowers in the Attic vibes from it, and I was like, I could see that. The old V.C. Andrews book.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was like, fair. That is very fair. Such a creepy, just this shouldn't be happening kind of story, So yeah. And I don't want to ruin it. I really want to tell everybody what happens in that movie, but I don't want to because you really got to see it.
Right? Exactly. So, again, you gonna stay on with me?
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay, all right. Well, let's plug your event again and your social media.
Yeah, so Dark Arts Festival, August 11th. It is inside Battlegrounds. I'll have a big, giant Dark Arts Festival sign outside the door with some arrows pointing in. 60 plus vendors, card readers, like pretty much anything you can find. 3 horror movies. I'm going to have Bryce's Robotic Circus world premiere. Trails of Trouble is a slasher that I also got to act in. That's going to be world premiering there. And then Vincent DeSanti, who owns Womp Stomp Films, he's showing Never Hike Alone 2, which is a Jason Voorhees fan film. And last year he showed Never Hike Alone, the trilogy of shorts together, the Ghost Cut, and this year he's showing part 2. And that's going to be at the end of the day. I have 2 costume contests. Frank Farrell, who did Spookies and Street Trash, has a Q&A with Dustin from Barron's Hideout podcast. They have some big news there. He's also going to be there signing autographs. So if you're a Spookies or a Street Trash fan, that might be worth it for you. And tickets are only $10. The Dark Arts Margarita, I think, is going to be $10. They have tons of food, finger food like hot dogs, burgers, and all that good stuff. Everything's relatively cheap as far as food goes. So bring the whole family. Veterans, I'm also letting veterans in for free, which is not on the flyer. Yeah, anybody that has a military ID or is a first responder gets in for free, and children under 13 are also free. So
cool. And
yeah,
we got a couple of weeks more that we're gonna run this promo for you anyway, because it's July 30th. Someone in the chat, Billy Atwood said, "Tech and makeup is so much better now. Some of these remake movies will be great." Yeah, that's true. Hey guys, everybody who's watching in the chat, you know what I want to see? I want to see in the chat, drop your most earliest memory of the first horror movie you saw. I just want to see kind of engage where a lot of people. Me and Billy Atwood grew up together. We saw a lot of horror movies together, like Reanimator. We saw some of the great 80s stuff. But if you're in this chat, I want to see what people's first earliest memory or what their first horror movie was. Kind of nice to see. Dan drop Nightmare on Elm Street. He says he was 9 years old. So that. What was yours? What was your first?
So I honestly don't remember the first one. I distinctly remember The Creature's Hand from Creature from the Black Lagoon, where it's like dun dun dun, and the hand comes up. Freaked me right out. That like did me in. And I don't know why. I was real little. And then after that, I distinctly remember watching Texas Chainsaw with Leatherface, and I was like, oh. And yeah, so by the time, and the lady I lived with was in one of them. I know it sounds weird now, a CD club, and she used to get VHSs, and she would get horror movies, and I would just watch them on repeat. And then we would go. I had a video store down, so as soon as I was old enough to ride a bike, I was like 8 years old. I'd be down there, and he's like, "Are you 18?" I'm like, "Yes." Like I had all 3 Faces of Death. You know what I mean? Like it was crazy.
God, my brother had all of those. Yeah, my brother had all the Faces of Death. And they would come out, and we'd be down at the store and get those Faces of Death movies. My brother and mother loved those friggin' movies. And you know what? I'm gonna tell a story about my brother here real quick. And shame on me, but I got to tell this story. My brother actually, his claim to fame is my brother actually got hit on. He went up to one year Spooky World to get an autograph and meet Linda Blair. For those who don't remember anything about Linda Blair actually had an affinity for black men. A lot of people didn't know that. She actually dated, if I'm not mistaken, Linda Blair actually dated Rick James for a brief period. My brother, when he was younger, in his 20s, went to Spooky World, and the story that I was told was, this was the year I didn't go, but Linda Blair actually hit on my brother, and he was creeped out at the fact that Linda Blair, if anybody knows my brother Kevin Hayes, ask him about Linda Blair and Spooky World, and I want to see if he's going to talk about that, because he was so creeped out. I forget who he went with, and I remember them all telling me the story. He was like so creeped out at the fact that Linda Blair was hitting on him.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Billy Atwood says, showing our age, but I first remember was a werewolf movie on Preview. Billy Atwood, if you're talking about werewolf movies, Billy Atwood, when we were growing up, it wasn't the first that I saw, but that would be I believe, Billy, that for you, that would be The Howling, which was, people don't get this, The Howling, Rick Baker FX, that was an historic horror movie, because that was the first time we saw transformations in special effects with the air bladders and things of that sort, which you know about in movie making, right? Correct?
Yeah.
That was
They're,
way ahead of its time. Also, that movie, The Howling.
So I got to work with one of those once on a movie, and we pumped it a little bit, and you'd have to do different pressures. And this one was real generic, like little balloon, like probably about this big. But when you were pushing it, you had to push it just a little, and then a little bit more,
to get
and then all the way. Yeah, and it was like you had to wait for it to fill back up,
Right.
So
Billy Atwood, I'm wrong. It's not The Howling. I know what it was on preview. It was American Werewolf in London. On preview, we watched it at his house. American Werewolf in London, which preceded The Howling. That's another great classic. That was another great air bladder horror movie transformation. And I just remember it because when I started thinking, I'm like, oh no, we watched it at Bill's house, and that was American Werewolf in London. Then Howling came out after that, which was just as good, but that was also
American
I believe
Werewolf
they were
in
both Rick
London
Baker.
Yeah, I got to tell you, American Werewolf in London really changed the game. Like that transformation has probably gone down in history.
That was the first, wasn't that the first of the horror comedies? Wasn't that considered the first of the horror comedies, right?
Pretty much. I mean, there was a couple before it, but not like that. You could say Albert and Costello meet Frankenstein or something.
Well,
but,
I believe American Werewolf in London was the first real that horror comedy genre.
It was dark. It was dark comedy. Like people were like afraid to laugh at that movie. You know what I mean? But there were some scenes, and I was like, you do the little, like. Well, yeah, I got what you're saying.
Good stuff.
Good
Dan says his first werewolf movie was Ginger Snap, and that's the film that got him to making props and SFX special effects. Yep.
Yeah.
Kevin Jeffries is in the chat. What's up, Kevin?
Ginger Snaps is a good one, Dan. That's a real good one. One of my favorite werewolf.
To be honest, all the werewolf movies and vampire movies were good until we ended up getting the Lycan against Underworld. Has to be hands down the best. When you talk vampires and werewolves, it all stops at Underworld. It just. I wish I was in the pitch. I wish I was at the pitch meeting for Underworld. Like you just couldn't say. You couldn't have said no when they came in and said, "Hey, we got this movie." Okay, what's the movie? It takes place, complete dark theme, and it pitches werewolves against vampires. Look, if I was at that pitch meeting, I'm like, just give them all the money.
Yeah, and you know what? The star of that, she really made it too. I can't remember her name offhand. I can see her, but I can't remember her name. But man, she was like, every guy was like, wow. When she first came on and she was so badass in that leather suit, every guy, I remember being in the theater, every guy in the theater just leaned forward. And it was like, what? Dude, it was insane. It was insane. And all the girls were like, yeah.
And she's actually out on, so she's kind of crazy. She's almost like Britney Spears, Kate Beckinsale. She's actually kind of crazy. She is and she posts some crazy pictures and stuff on Instagram. So if you like seeing people with a little bit of clothes on, Kate Beckinsale is another one. Kevin Jeffries says period Underworld is the best. So I thought the second one was really good. But yeah, Underworld was just so crazy, bro. That was just if I'm in that pitch meeting, they're getting the money. Give them everything. I don't care what the budget is. Shit.
So this is really off topic, but I got to tell you, we're talking about I went to see that in the theater, and I just need to share this because it's in my brain, and I want to remember this. I went to see House of Wax, the remake with Paris Hilton, and the theater was full, like it was sold out. And I don't even remember when it was, but when Paris Hilton was getting chased, everybody in the theater was like, "Die, Paris, die, die, Paris, die," and it was it was at the height of her fame, and people were getting sick of her. And I've never had this ever happen before, and it hasn't happened since. She got killed in the movie, and the whole place jumped out of their seats. Everybody threw their popcorn. Yeah. Like, it was insane. From die, Paris, die, die, Paris, die. And once she got killed, yeah. Like, I've never seen it since that happened.
Awesome.
But I just had to share that.
House of Wax? Wasn't the House of Wax remake? Wasn't that a Rob Zombie?
No, this was before Rob Zombie made a movie. It was like one of the first Hollywood remakes, so it had to be like early 2000s, I think, or around that time.
And, hey, all y'all hating on Rob Zombie, stop it. Sometimes y'all be doing too much. You want to hate on somebody. Rob Zombie put some classic, over the top, ahead of his time. Yo, come on now. Come on, stop it. Stop messing with Rob Zombie. I felt his Halloween wasn't bad either. Sometimes you all just want to pick on and he's from Massachusetts. I get real touchy about it. I get real touchy when people start talking about Rob Zombie. You better like him. Oh man, boy, that shit. Rob Zombie is not bad at all.
Here's what I'll say about Rob Zombie. I don't know why or how any convention you walk in on horror, you bring up Rob Zombie movies, and there's a divide right down the middle. Everybody's like, they either love him or they hate him. No one's like,
Kevin Jeffries.
Okay.
Kevin Jeffries is in the chat. He said that Rob Zombie Halloween movie was trash.
See?
You either love it or you hate it. See? Stop hating on Rob Zombie, bro.
Yeah, dude, this is great.
Oh man, we really digress. 7:39. We got way off the topic. See, that's what happens when you start talking either horror movies or superhero movies on this show. You get me the. I'm like AD.
I'm a fan of both.
Squirrel.
I'm really sorry. Bad influence.
Good stuff. So we got to get into the topics that are on this show. And I threw the thing up, but let me just do this up again. But it's a reminder. News booth. In the news booth here in Massachusetts, Boar Healy. Wow. Boar Healy has signed a $58 billion state budget that will allow everyone to attend a community college for free tuition. Look, I'm going to tell everybody there's no excuses right now. If you want to get into filmmaking, if you want to get into any type of liberal arts for filmmaking, media, or anything, you better head down to your community college right now before September. Get there. There's no excuse. Margaret says, sorry, I was driving. What I remember was the old black and white Frankenstein movies along with The Exorcist. Yes. And I remember, real quick, there was a couple of X-rated Frankenstein and Dracula movies that were made that you could only go see because they were X-rated. They were unedited, uncut. And I remember they were saying no one will buy tickets. And I remember the first weekend
that was Andy Warhol's movies.
Yes, they were packed. And that was also that era of where, VCR movies was successful for two genres, porn and horror. If it wasn't for the horror and porn genre, I don't think VCRs would have ever taken VCR tapes and VCR rental stores. I don't think they would have ever taken off, because when VCR tapes first came out and you rented them, that was your Friday the 13th, your Nightmare on Elm Street. Porn was at an all-time high in regards to porn movie. It was just, if it wasn't for those two genres, I don't think VCR tapes would have ever made it.
The other one was wrestling. Every tape trader did horror and wrestling. There was porn in there too, but horror and wrestling were the two big ones.
You're right, because
everybody who had two VCRs was transferring.
Yep, because everybody who couldn't afford to pay for pay-per-views, they went and got the VCR tape the fall, and that was that was the craziness about it. You didn't pay if you couldn't afford the pay-per-view. You went and got the you got the VCR tape of that event. WCW. I think I have the War Zone here. from WCW. You know, I couldn't pay for it, but then I ended up getting the Warzone on VCR for $20. The ad came out, so you're right. Yeah, wrestling. I forgot ECW. ECW was also selling all their tapes on VCR, so you're right. Yes, wrestling was another big one for VCR taking off. So that's a good one. I like that one. Billy Atwood said the same with music. Yep, exactly. So, but yeah, college, Massachusetts, community, free tuition, no excuses. No excuses. Get down there, get your liberal arts in, get whatever you want to get your degree in. But like I said, if you know some of these, like Massasoit here, Josh, they've got the best and the top of the art equipment in a brand new Dale Dorman studio, brand new, PTZ kit, everything.
So wait a minute, we have free community college in Rhode Island, but you can't get a degree from there. So
Yeah,
is this you can go there and get a 4-year degree? Because ours is only like, you can only do, I think, 2 years for free. Oh, wow. That's cool.
This is a full deal. Please, everybody, check on this and see exactly what you want. But it's free. This is free. And it's going to be expanding everywhere. And I know Rhode Island was one of the first, but it wasn't a degree. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get really interesting around here. Also in the news booth, hey, Boar's Head last week, a lot of delis closed because Boar's Head had a recall, listeria concerns, and now this week, vegetables at Walmart and Aldi's, listeria recalled. So all of a sudden, you're going to have a shortage of all this produce. Prices are going to jump up. And then here again, in the news booth, South Pasadena, California unveils the first ever all-electric police fleet. Now, here's the thing. Pay attention to these next 3 stories, people. This is why I tell people to get informed and to know why and what you're voting for. Pay attention to these 3 stories. South Pasadena unveils the first ever all-electric police fleet. Guess what the police fleet is all made up of? Teslas. All Tesla EV vehicles. Now, if you were watching the Trump, after he got his nomination, President Trump came out and he said that he was going to end the EV mandates on day 1. Guess what, people? He announced he was going to end these EV mandates. He can't end them because there's a worldwide ban on fossil fuel vehicles, and it takes place in 2032. Everybody has to be EV compliant by 2032. So last week, Elon Musk comes out, and Elon Musk says, they ask him, and here's where it gets funny, people. Pay attention. Elon Musk says, if Trump gets in the office, it won't hurt me. It's going to hurt my rivals. Guess what, people? Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. This is why I talk about, it's not about Republicans. It's not about Democrats. I tell people it's about elitists, people with money who rule the world. And here's where this gets funny. South Pasadena is one police force, and they're taking over. Tesla has just become the Ford Crown Vic of police stations. And here's the thing. Tesla's already got a foothold in the EV market. But guess what? Hyundai, Toyota, and everybody's now making EVs. And guess what's happening? Tesla has had to lower his price on his cars. Why? Because he has competition. Well, if Trump comes out, gets reelected on January 1st, and if he does get rid of these EV mandates, guess what happens? These newer companies like Hyundai and all these companies who are just starting out with EVs, they're going to lose all their tax breaks. And Elon Musk says right in the interview, they'll lose all their tax breaks and they'll go under. And guess what will happen? They'll have no rivals. Tesla will be the lone beholder of EV vehicles and will end up getting contracts such as this to EV police forces, fleets across the country. So when I tell people, pay attention to what you're listening to, they're spreading a certain narrative, but it benefits someone else. And right here, Elon Musk, he let it out. He let it out. He come right out and doesn't realize he told people exactly what's going to happen. So who's Trump's biggest money-making supporter right now? One of them's Elon Musk. He's one of the biggest fundraisers and flooding money into the Trump campaign. Why? Because I've said this before. The people who take care of you, you've got to grease their hands if you get elected. And if you pay attention to this, it already looks like Tesla's being set up to be the lone EV in this country if President Trump gets in with no competition. So pay attention, people. Pay attention to who you're voting to. It's sad. It's crazy stuff.
I just got to add to this. A lot of people don't know this. So the electric cars, the batteries, they're lithium ion batteries.
Right. Yep.
So a lot of people don't know this or understand this. Sometimes they catch on fire. And when they do catch on fire, you can't put them out. Yeah. So my neighbor right across the street from my house, thankfully the family got out, but their battery ignited the other in the wintertime. It got too cold, it compressed, and it literally just blew up inside of itself and caught fire. And they lost their entire house because of it. And the fire department was here from 7 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, putting out the same two cars over and over and over. They could not put those batteries out.
Nope.
So,
And,
yeah.
And that's the problem. They were selling the cars quicker than the fire departments could prepare and get ready for them, which is why I'm in transportation. And that's why, they weren't allowing the EVs. But yeah, there's supposed to be a special type of powder and stuff that they're supposed to put on these. But a lot of fire stations aren't equipped, so all they can do is just dump water until they actually burn out. And what people also don't realize with the EVs, it's also hazardous waste. When the cars do catch on fire, I did hear people having a lot of problems in the winter with the charging. So you never know what happens. So I know that we have the Ionics at work, which are nice, but they did have a recall where it wasn't properly charging in the wintertime. It's supposed to do certain things in the winter, and that's what happens. The other thing they were also saying is that people try to save a buck and they don't upgrade to the 220 or they don't upgrade to what they're supposed to, and then they try to charge off the house. And that causes issues also. You can't charge it low. But then people there's a lot of stuff there. Dan says the story makes me want to drive a Flintstone car before I ever get an electric. Oh man, but yeah, it's crazy stuff. And like I said, it's one of these things that you got to pay attention to because, like I said, President Trump said this, and the scary thing is he's really setting up, for his guy to be the sole EV provider in this country and him the monopoly market. So think about it, people. Just pay attention to that and remember that. So again, South Pasadena unveils its first all-ever electric fleet. That's going to be Teslas. And again, like I said, here's the other one too. 2032, Kelly Blue Book says the EV charger stations are going to surpass gas stations by 2032. Who owns the majority of EV charging stations in this country? Who bought up all the properties? Who bought up all up 93 on the Mass Pike and put in all these EV? Tesla. So not only will he have most of the cars if he eliminates his competition, Tesla's also going to have most of the EV property, EV chargers in this country. And he'll be making a pretty penny from people charging up on drives and things of that sort. So again, Elon Musk saying it would be good for tech. And that's the craziness about this story. He comes right out and says it. It'd be good for Tesla, but devastating for his rivals.
It's crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of EV, here in Massachusetts, MBTA just approved a $54 million plan to electrify the trains on the Fairmount route, which is the shortest commuter rail line. These are going to be locomotives that are strictly run on EV batteries. I know that they're talking about putting electric trains on the Middleborough line, but that's going to be on the wire. But this is going to be an EV locomotive. It's going to be interesting to see. I love new technology, so I got to see how that's going to work, what kind of battery is in it. The shortest line, the Fairmont line, is the shortest commuter rail line. So we'll see. I'm interested to see $54 million. Yes, when you're talking MBTA and locomotive changeovers, $54 million isn't that much money.
Well, I did work in solar. I had my own solar business before I ran my horror business. And we used to sell independent charging stations. And what they were basic, like, small car garages with solar panels on top. So if they are looking to do train stations or trains, they could literally line the trains with panels and self-perpetuate.
Yep, so that could be something they're planning on. I got to really look this over because they're going to have public meetings and stuff in regards to this. Let's get into the entertainment booth. Hey, rest in peace, rapper Chino XL. Me and my man, who else was out here that was a fan of Chino XL? Lamar, somebody else, another buddy of mine who's also a fan of Chino XL. We used to rock that CD. If I could reach back, I've got the CD right behind me, that Chino XL first CD. But he was one of the greatest Latino lyricists out there. He passed away at 50 years old. Also, Kool G Rap, DJ Polo has passed away. DJ Polo was Kool G Rap's DJ. He was 63 years old. And, rest in peace to him and his family. And then in the entertainment booth, Deadpool Wolverine. I haven't seen it yet. Oh. Don't come on social media. These little topics y'all trying to talk about and stuff, don't blow it for me. Don't blow it for me.
So Keith, let me tell you how it ends.
Thursday's my night. I'm going to try to see this Deadpool Wolverine. Here's the deal, people. $500 million globally, $250 million domestically. Disney is back with a vengeance. I've been hearing nothing but good things about it. No spoilers. Everybody just keeps saying it was good. It was this. The one thing I did hear, a lot of people were worried about Disney and this R rating with Deadpool. And from what I'm hearing with everybody, I'm hearing that if you were worried about them softening up, they didn't soften up. They actually, some people are saying, man, it was worse. They were saying this is bad. So I can
attest
wait.
to that. I can attest to that.
Oh, really? So I'm hearing that it was definitely up to par with the other two as far as the R rating.
So I went Friday night. I took my son for his birthday, and a couple of his friends, completely sold out. And
I can imagine.
People were just buying the one seats and like sitting wherever they could. And man, everybody was talking to everybody. It was such a cool environment. And at the end, everybody was like, "That was a Disney movie?" Like, yeah. I'm very interested to know your thoughts. So let me know what you thought after you see it, please.
A lot of people.
I won't say nothing about it, but oof.
I can't wait. I know there's a lot of. I heard there was like 30 something cameos, so I can't wait to see this. Deadpool Wolverine is just killing it, and also Disney knew what they was doing. Here's the deal: they released Deadpool and Wolverine this week, and nothing else went up against it in Hollywood because they got the word. They knew that this was going to be a monster. And then Comic-Con was in San Diego this weekend, and Disney was like, "Okay, F your feelings. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to release Deadpool Wolverine on July 26th. And then at Comic-Con, we're going to tell people, yep, Thunderbolts is coming out. Yep, Fantastic Four is coming out. Yep, and then we're also doing this Captain America that you all know about with the Red Hulk. And here's the other thing. We're also going to do these two Avenger movies, Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars in 2027. But yeah, here, let me just drop this on you. Victor Von Doom, who's that going to be? Yep. Robert Downey Jr. and the place goes absolutely berserk for Robert Downey Jr. Everybody's losing their minds. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure this out myself. Robert Downey. I'm like, okay, we know we have this multiverse. I've been talking about multiverses before the multiverses were even brought up in this. And is Victor Von Doom Tony Stark variant? How is this all going to work out? And then somebody on my page dropped a quote from one of the movies where Tony Stark says, sometimes to be the hero, you've got to be the villain, which was a quote from one of the movies. And I'm like, holy shit, are they lining us up again? This is, man.
That's badass, man. I didn't know that was a thing. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it dropped on Saturday. Ooh. The internet blew up with RDJ as Victor Von Doom. He puts the Tony Stark glass. So everybody's like, everybody's been a buzz. Like, and you know, comic book people, we're passionate. We debate real hardcore. You know, one guy, he was on my page. He's like, he's playing Victor Von Doom. I'm like, I know, but you still have to explain why he looks like Tony Stark. I get it. You're saying he's not Doom. He's not Dr. Doom. He's this. I'm like, I get it, but you still have to explain why does he look like Tony Stark? And this is the question that we need to really realize. Now, somebody said in the Deadpool Wolverine movie to really pay attention because there is a hint in this movie in regards to the Dr. Doom, Tony Stark. So I got to really make sure I pay attention now to that. But
there's so many Easter eggs.
Yeah, I could imagine
in the movie. So many. Dude, I was like, hey, that's this. Hey, that. And my wife was like, would you just shut up? Because I don't know what you're talking about.
And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of the fourth wall breaking in this movie because
in
the trailer we do see the 20th Century logo. We see that 20th Century Fox logo destroyed the background. So we know there's a lot of fourth wall breaking in this film. And Deadpool really does a good job at doing that. She-Hulk did a little bit of that in She-Hulk, which was pretty good. But Deadpool's done a real good job of breaking that fourth wall, so I can't wait to see it. Also here, I was just talking about this with Philip Durbin last week. Video game voice actors are now on strike. Why? They need to be protected from AI. A lot of video games are moving forward and starting to use this AI for voice production. Video games. Guess what? You know, one of the earliest Call of Duties was Kiefer Sutherland voiced all the voiceovers. Samuel Jackson has done voiceover work. I've had a couple of people on this show who've done voiceover work. You know, some big actors that people don't realize have done some voice acting work in video games during the strike. When the actors' strike was going on, voice acting in video games was okay because that didn't fall under the SAG. So we had a lot of voice actors that were doing the video game voice acting. And your thoughts on that, man? Because voice acting is a big deal, man. It is a big deal, and AI is a scary thing if it starts. Because if it starts at video games, it starts at animated movies. That's the next step. So you gotta put that shit to sleep right now, in my opinion.
So I just had this conversation. I did a podcast, Horror Barbecue, that came out like yesterday. And Big Dan and I were talking about AI. And I said, you know, it's not going to change until it hits the actors. I'm like, no one cares about the artist. No one cares about the writers, right? AI is running rampant. All my artist friends, they can't get any work anywhere. My writer friends are like, AI is stealing everything. And Amazon's trying to crack down, but nothing else is really cracking down. But I said, when it gets to the actors, and it's going to start with the voice actors because they're the easiest. And I mean, Candyman does voice acting. You know what I mean? Tony Todd has that really deep voice. You know, like
voice. He's a ton of video games.
Yeah,
Tony Todd.
Yep. So you better believe. Do you think somebody like Tony Todd is going to lay down and be like, "Oh yeah, take food off my table"? No. And it's even higher than him. And you watch, like, once it starts hitting the voice actors, they'll go on strike, and maybe something will happen. When it gets into film, and real actors that like Hollywood people start getting affected, you watch how fast change will happen. You know, because
it's scary.
Hollywood has a lot of money still. The independents might be coming up, but Hollywood runs all. Like, you think Disney, like the people that work for Disney, they're going to be like, all those actors are going to be like, yeah, Disney, go ahead, use AI. Absolutely not.
And here's the thing for me too, and here's where I'm torn about the AI, because I because I produce and do shows and podcasts, I actually got an email from Artist.io. Artist.io now offers AI voice acting. Artist.io, and when me and Philip had this discussion, he's like, well, it doesn't capture the emotion that a human being can translate. And I'm like, nope. I says Artist.io has the emotion. You can actually adjust the slider from happy to angry for the comment that you type in. I said, this is some scary stuff. But here's the thing. There's a positive and a negative. I get it when you're talking about big budget movies. I get it. I don't like it there. But if you're an independent guy and you're putting together like a Graveyard Shark, or you're putting together some type of movie where you need different voices, but you don't have the pockets to pay voice actors or different voice actors, guess what you're going to do if you're an independent and you've got this film to make and you need different voices? Guess what you're going to use? You're going to use AI voice acting. And I think for independent purposes, I think I'll agree with that, because a lot of your independent films are kind of non-union anyway. So can we keep the AI at that non-union independent filmmaker level? Because what I think this would also do with independent filmmaking, it may open up more creativity. I don't know. You're an independent filmmaker, so I'm going to ask you about that. Are you torn on this because of what it can bring for you?
So I needed a flyer ASAP, right? For the Dark Arts Festival. I had an artist lined up and they ghosted me.
And that's this is the point you're getting to. Yep.
So somebody else actually made the artwork and gave it to me, and it was AI, and I said, I will post this, but I can't use it. And I hired another artist immediately, and she did an amazing job. She even gave the one you have, I think, is the AI one, but the new one has like a wrestling belt, because she knew I was a wrestling fan. So she drew in a wrestling belt on the goth girl or whatever. And she has little horns and things. Yeah, she did really, really good job. But she was also like rewarded for that. There was a mutual agreement, like, I'll use this and I will pay you after the festival. You can have a spot at the festival for giving me this artwork and sell all your art. And it was a mutual agreement. Her name's Christine Rigo. She's an amazing artist. It kills me to use AI, even on an independent level. Like, I would rather have somebody put their heart and soul into something than use something that's not real. Because later on down the road, that person could do something else. Whereas if they didn't have the opportunity to do it in my film, they might not have an opportunity to do something later that could be so much more. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. Yep. Dan says, to quote Mama Boucher, AI is the devil.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing, for every story where we talked about Brian and having actors and everybody back out, and sometimes, like you said, sometimes you just get stressed out with that human letdown factor, where you get let down on too many people backing out at the last minute, and then sometimes you just get fed up and say, you know what, I'm just not dealing with this no more. But you, like you said, you stuck in, you found yourself a human being, and you put that work and let this person, you negotiated whatever. But again, for every person who continues to use it, there's going to be that one person who just gets tired of getting burnt. And they're going to say, you know what?
And that happens.
And that sucks. That's where the danger comes in. This is where people got to realize,
Yeah. So look at Bryce, right? Bryce had an entire cast of 13 people, and they backed out. Yep. I know Bryce is autistic. Maybe he wasn't he's not a forceful guy. He just says, hey, I want you to be part of, please do this. Like, it's not like, hey, I need you now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's the difference. And I appreciate him for that. But at the same time, he gave everybody an opportunity. So like you think about it, I got to be part of it. You got to be part of it. David showed up, Eric, the sideshow kid, he does the freak show, man. He was so excited to be there. And that's the thing, like they're all going to come to the festival. They're going to hang out. They're going to do a Q&A. They're going to get 5 minutes of fame. And that's kind of what it's about. And I would rather, and I think a lot of, and here's the thing, if you're in it for the art, like you're going to get burned. I've been burned so many times. I run a business. I get burned on the daily. Like it just happens. That's business. People are out to make money. They don't care about you. But at the end of the day, if you're in it for the passion of it, then you won't use AI because you're literally taking like some, not only food from somebody else off their table, you're also taking an opportunity away from somebody. And it might not seem like a big thing now, but I got to tell you, a small opportunity goes into a bigger opportunity that goes into a bigger opportunity. You know what I mean?
I'm glad to hear that. And this is a guy, guys, who's in the independent film industry. So listen to him, you know, because, you know, this is why I wanted both sides. Great stuff. And I'm glad this topic came up for us. And, you know, like I said, SAG-AFTRA, voice actors in video games are now union. They're union now. So they're part of that collective. And like I said, they're on strike right now. So please, please, please do your best to support these guys. And also, as we close out the entertainment booth, 28 years later has Rap Production. Look, this was one of those genre movies that changed the industry. 28 Days. Cillian Murphy is in this movie. They're not really zombies. It's rage. The people are affected by this rage from these monkeys. And, you know, a lot of people call it a zombie film. It's not really a zombie film. It's in that genre, but it's not really zombies. These people they have an illness. But they did 28 Days, and then they did 28 Days Later, and now the third movie is about to come out. It's Rap Production. 28 years later, people, you know me. I'm subscribed to certain networks. I get trailers before they come out. So trust and believe me, when the teaser trailer first comes out for 28 Years Later with Cillian Murphy, who's coming off an Oscar movie. He's coming off an Oscar win. This is a guy, he didn't have to go back to a horror movie where he got his start. He didn't have to go back to this. He could have said, no, I'm bigger than this. I got an Academy Award. But he said, you know what? I'm coming back. I'm gonna do this movie with you. I'm interested to see where this comes from, because the world was, that 28 Days Later, the world was completely changed. So I could only imagine what this world is like 28 years later. What's your thoughts on this? And were you a fan of this film?
Yeah, this is another one where I went to the theater, and I'm just gonna spoil this one. There was a scene.
Hold on. I actually have something for you for this.
Uh-oh.
Spoiler alert.
That's
Spoiler
great.
alert.
Yeah, the comedian that was in it gets infected, and
Spoiler alert.
Everybody in the theater went, oh, and everybody was like so upset that this good character got infected. But man, that was another one. So you're right, it did fall into the zombie category, and that everyone praises that for Fast Zombies. That was the first time that zombies ran, is what I hear all the time.
Was that before Dawn of the Dead? Was that before Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, which had fast zombies? 28 Days?
I don't know, but everybody says, that movie was the first.
First and foremost,
yeah.
Everybody watches this show knows that Sinister One is a horror movie nut. I'm a horror movie nut, but I'll tell you right now, everybody knows my biggest thing here on this show: fast zombies. If you put me in a zombie movie or a show like Night of the Living Dead, Walking Dead, I'm good. I'm confident that I'm gonna last 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 seasons. Bro, you put me in a fast zombie movie like Train to Busan, where you had to cut limbs off to keep them from coming after you because shooting them in the head didn't work, or Dawn of the Dead, or 28 Days. Look, Fast Zombies just kill me. I'm gonna be Steel in Day of the Dead. I'm not effing around with Fast Zombies. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. I can pick things up and put them down, but I'm not a fast guy. Yeah. You give me my body weight, I can lift it any way you want. You want me to run a mile, you give me 10 minutes, all right?
When I saw Fast Zombies, I'm like, who thought of this? Like, you just ruined the whole zombie genre for me because I thought I could survive. But you put Fast Zombies in, I'm like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, man.
All set.
So a lot of people credit that movie for that. And I've heard it like since that movie has come out. That's all I've heard. And you're right, it's not the first time that zombies have run. There were some low budget ones. I think Garden of the Dead, the zombies ran. And that was late 70s, early 80s, maybe. And but like no one's gonna be like, oh, I remember. I'm like the only one that's ever seen it,
Right. Yeah,
but,
I said, Fast Zombies. If you guys haven't had a chance, another great zombie genre on Netflix is there's a series called The Kingdom, which has one of the best origins of a zombie apocalypse. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but usually when you have a zombie apocalypse, it's some scientific whatever has gotten out or whatever, or monkey bite. It's always something like that. The genre it's been over and over and over and over used again. Check out The Kingdom on Netflix. It has the most original way that a zombie apocalypse starts. I can tell you right now, you're gonna watch this. If you haven't seen it, you watch The Kingdom, you're gonna say, "Holy shit, that is the most craziest way for a zombie apocalypse to start." Have you seen The Kingdom yet on Netflix?
No. My son
my
actually.
God.
There's a couple of shows on Netflix my son wants to watch with me, but
I promise you,
it's
Joshua.
summertime, so we're not on a schedule.
I promise you, Josh. If you go this winter, and I'll tell you right now, if you start that series, I promise you'll watch it in one weekend. I dead promise you. That's the intel. So it's not just dumb zombie horror. It's that, those intelligent zombie horrors that's up here. It's that. It involves.
Okay.
It involves just to not ruin it. So The Kingdom takes place during the Japanese hierarchy of where everybody is piss poor, has nothing, and then your royalty is up here. And the zombie apocalypse takes place. They don't even have regular guns. They only have the musket guns So pretty much the weapons are swords. The weapons are pretty much swords and cannons, and then muskets. And that's it. That's all I'm saying. But the interesting part of this is that it's a hierarchy. So it's just super poor people with nothing, and that's it. It is the most original. When you watch this and you see how this zombie apocalypse started, you're gonna be like, "Holy fuck, who thought of this?" Like, and I had to drop the F-bomb there because I said it. I was like, "This is the most craziest original way." Somebody in the chat, Margaret says, "Saw it, loved it." If you thought that was the most original way for a zombie apocalypse to start, just drop a heart or a thank you. Don't ruin it. Trust me, when you watch it, Joshua, you're gonna be like, "Holy shit, Keith." You're gonna text me and be like, "Wow, wow." It's crazy. It's just sheer craziness as to how it started. So
you let me know how Deadpool and Wolverine is. I'll let you know how The Kingdom is.
Will do. Sports booth. Let's get into sports booth right at 8:16. We got to start winding it down. Bridgewater wins its Massachusetts Little League state crown. They're up next. They're going to the regionals, and I believe they're going down to Rhode Island. I think they're either going to Rhode Island or Connecticut for this next batch of the regionals. Acton Boxborough is where they think they're going. No, they beat Boxborough. I think they are. I think they're going to Rhode Island next. But that will be this is it. If they win the regionals, they're off to the World Series championship. in Pennsylvania. So big ups to Bridgewater for that one. So these kids here, kudos to them. And there is the photo, people. That is the Greek photo of the debauchery and stuff that everybody mistook. This is the photo of actually what was going on at the Olympics opening that started this whole religious thing on Facebook. As you guys watched the opening of this show, I actually had a clip from History of the World Part 1 of The Last Supper when Mel Brooks comes in and he's supposedly the waiter asking everybody if they want separate bills and things of that sort. So everybody who was talking about blasphemy and everybody going to hell for this, and it's like, stop it. They've been spoofing religion. On my Facebook page, I have South Park when they spoofed The Last Supper, and it's the South Park characters spoofing The Last Supper. Nobody got hurt. So stop it. Also, breakdancing makes its debut at the Olympics. 50 years of hip hop, and we now have breakdancing. I can't wait. I actually saw an interview with someone, and he said a little bit different. Some of the things that you can't do in the breakdancing that's going to take place at the Olympics, you can't act like you're shooting somebody during your breakdance. You can lose points. So if somebody's way ahead, but you really want to get that across, you can do it, but you're going to get points taken away. So it's going to be real interesting. So I'm gonna take my personal bet, and I'm going to say, if you're going to talk about gold, silver, and bronze, I don't think USA takes home the gold. I think USA takes the silver, and I think Japan is taking hip hop culture to a whole, and it's a whole different level. Japanese and China have taken that hip hop breaking aspect. When you look at what Jabberwockies did in crump dancing, I don't think USA has a chance. I think Japan or China takes that gold spot. I don't think USA has that chance. I'll give USA silver, but I think it's going to be the Asians.
So I'm an old school break dancer from when I was a kid. I used to break dance, and
okay.
I can't remember anything of it now. I mean, I was like 4 or 5, but I do remember the music, and it's funny that this comes up because I have a breakdance playlist that I play for work, and and I was rocking out Twilight 22 Electric Kingdom's like my favorite song of all time. And I was dancing and getting groovy. But I got to tell you, you're absolutely right. Like, I watch videos of some kids breakdancing here, and even the old school like breakers, man, you see them now, and I'm like, but then you see these kids over there, the stuff they're doing is insane. They don't even look human. Like, it's like they got jelly bones. That's what I call them, jelly bone. And they can do like robot stuff like that. We used to do like the jerk robot, but man, these kids got it down. They're like, and they move so fast, and the fluidity
the Asian
is
culture,
insane. Yep. And they're so like, there's a difference between hitting a beat and like flowing a beat. And these kids dance and they just flow that beat like you wouldn't believe, man. And I'm like when I was a kid, I would never even dream of that,
I might have to, you know what? Because I really want to talk about. To be honest, I really want to talk about this breakdancing. So you know what? Let's get together off air, and I would like to do a special segment where we can talk about this. So if you get a chance to watch the breakdancing coverage for the Olympics, that could be something we'll both watch, and then we can talk about our thoughts on that. That's crazy. I didn't know you broke. Yeah, that's crazy that you breakdance. Oh,
I mean,
shit.
that was that. I don't do it. I mean, I did it when I was like 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
And my cousin was a breaker in Providence, and that's how I got into it. And he gave me the little breakdance cassette from the movie. And then I saw Electric Boogaloo, and I was like,
oh, geez.
Like those
Crush Groove.
Yeah. And I used to watch all the kids and try to like mimic their moves, but I was never good at it. You could ask me any move, and I'd be like, I don't know what that's called. But but I like recently, the past like year or so, I've been watching a lot of breakdancing again. And I watched Electric Boogaloo like 2 years ago, and I was like, man, I forgot how good breakdancing really is, you know. And now I catch myself like falling in the YouTube hole of just watching like kids breakdance and stuff. So yeah, man,
me,
I'd be down for it.
Okay, cool. Because breakdancing for me, it opened up doors to different weird types of music. Like MTV had just started out, breaking just hit when MTV was just starting to bloom. And one of the groups that was actually put on the map because of breakdancing was Out of Noise. A lot of people think of Out of Noise for their gigantic hit Moments in Love. Bum, 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 bum. Everybody knows Out of Noise for that. Out of Noise was super popular before because Out of Noise had two huge breakdancing. Whenever you would go to a breakdance battle, Out of Noise had two songs that were just close to the edit, and I forget what the other one was, but close to the edit. You couldn't go to a breakdance battle without hearing close to the edit from Out of Noise. That was, search it, Google it, people. When you hear it, you're gonna be like, oh my god, I never knew who that was. That was Out of Noise, who did Moments in Love. That's where they really got put on the map, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
I remember going to Providence and watching breakers to Tone Loc. Like, it's the weirdest things, man. I love it.
Oh man. Also, spoiler alert. If you're not watching tonight yet, if you haven't seen or didn't know, spoiler alert. Olympic gold medal women's team final. The women's Olympic team in gymnastics, they took home gold. Simone Biles put on a hell of a performance on that hurt calf muscle. And she becomes the most decorated U.S. Olympic gymnast of all time. So big props to Simone Biles and that USA women's gymnastics team. Like I said, breaking is going to be coming up. We're going to be checking that out. Then let's get into the legal booth. Let's talk about the legal booth real quick. The deputy who shot and killed Sonya Massey, guess what? He was removed from the Army because he couldn't handle high-stress situations. He also had 3 DUIs, and he also had worked for 4 different police departments that had been removed. Now, there's a couple of things here. I know a lot of people are trying to attach race to this tragedy, and it wasn't about race, people. It wasn't about race. Sonya Massey was diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenia. When you watched this sad, tragic video, you knew right out the bat that there was something not right with this lady. She called 911 on her apartment saying she had an intruder. They came there, and then it escalated over an issue with the pot of water where she was like a switch flicked. And all of a sudden she says, I'm going to rebuke you in the name of Jesus, and was going to throw the pot of boiling water at the officer. And the cop pulled his gun out, told her to drop it. She knelt down, she put her hands up, but he shot her in the face, and she died from a headshot. The reason why he's been charged with murder was several reasons. One, the body cam screwed him over big time. The body cam showed that he had a counter between him and Sonya Massey. So they said, well, first of all, you had cover to duck under if she was to throw that water. So that was mistake number 1. Number 2, they were facing the doorway to get out. So he had a way to flee as a police officer. So again, if she had threw the pot of hot water at him, he could have fled out the door and not be hit with that hot water. So that's another reason why he's charged with murder. Third, his partner on camera is seen. He wants to go and tend to the first date of this woman, and he tells his partner right on camera, no, that's a headshot. Not. Don't even bother. No, that's not. You don't do that as a police officer. Your job is to serve and protect. He was supposed to allow that partner to go and get the first aid kit and at least try to administer first aid and save her. That didn't happen. She died from her wounds. Another reason why he's charged with murder. Today, the latest story is they tried to cover it up. After they shot her, they have the police radio call in, and the deputy is saying over the radio that it was a self-inflicted gun wound. the craziness of calling it in and saying it's a self-inflicted gun wound after you have your body cam to turn in what happened just shows the mental state of this officer, Sean Grayson, who's now charged with murder. Now, here's the thing, people, and I'm going to get into this because a lot of people are just brand spanking new to the booth. We had a guest on this show many, many years ago in regards to police officers and their hiring. And one of the things that came out on this show many, many years ago was that many years ago, police stations didn't hire vets. It was hard to get a job at the police station if you were a veteran. Why? Because a lot of veterans had PTSD. And veterans were also trained to be much better shooters than police officers. So lawsuits, they were worried about the legal lawsuits and things of that sort. So a lot of veterans could not get hired to police force. What happened was after 9/11, after 9/11, we go to Desert Storm. Desert Storm happens. We got a shitload of vets coming back from Desert Storm, and they couldn't get jobs. Nobody wanted to hire them. Police stations weren't hiring them. And guess what happened? The government said to police stations, guess what? We'll give you a kickback if you hire veterans. And this person told us, at this time, this was a gentleman down in New Orleans, a black man who was choked out and killed in New Orleans. And what we were told was on this show was that, you know, people made this to be a race thing. We were told that the officer who had choked this guy out was a vet. And what happened was that this vet in this altercation had a PTSD flashback, which took him back to what he's supposed to do with his military training. Military training versus police training is completely different. And when you get into a PTSD situation and you revert back, there's no stopping that. So this person there is saying choke this guy out to his death because he reverted back to his military training. The key here is that if this is true and if this was a thing, police stations across America could be sued. You're looking at what could possibly be one of the biggest class action lawsuits in the history of the opiate crisis, the opiate lawsuits. If you knowingly hire, in this situation with Sonya Massey and Sean Grayson, if you knowingly hire a veteran who has known PTSD issues, and in this case, this guy, Sean Grayson, he was kicked out of the military, number one, and then he was released from 4 different police departments. If you know this guy has an issue and you still brought him on your police force, guess what? That's a lawsuit. That's not about race. This is a lawsuit. And it's sad because Sonya Massey was a bipolar, schizophrenic. Her 17-year-old son, I can only imagine the type of things that he had to go through with his mother, as you see in this picture here. It's sad enough that his mother was killed by a police officer, but now we're attaching race to this when it really is about mental health. And I tell people all the time, here in the black community, we don't talk about mental health in the black community. Sonya Massey was known in her community as the crazy lady up the street. Oh, that's crazy Sonya. Yet we in the black community, we don't address that. We don't get people help. Now Sonya Massey has lost her life due to her bipolar schizophrenia. So again, people, it's not always about race. I wish people would stop really kind of talking about race all. Not always about race. This woman suffered from bipolar schizophrenia. She probably wasn't getting the help that she was supposed to get. And like me and somebody else was talking about this, once you become 21, you have to take care of your own mental capacities. If you don't, like Kanye West, he lost his family and got divorced because he refused to take his medications. That's why Kim divorced him. You're refusing to take your meds. Nobody can force somebody to take their meds. And I think that's something that might need to be changed. I think that's something that if you feel somebody's a danger to themselves or whatever, I think you should be able to. It should be a lot easier. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So I worked on a psych ward doing security for a hospital here. And, you see them all, like people are people, regardless of color, gender, like they say race, we're all one race, like really. And you like mental illness is a broad spectrum. and I've seen some of the best and some of the worst come through. And I did this job for years and years and years. And, you know, we dealt with that a lot. We had, you know, if there was like one guy who was Spanish and he was, oh, you're a racist. Every white officer, like we called them officers, just, you know, out of respect. And a lot of them were like ex-police, ex-military. We didn't really have a lot of issues with PTSD, thankfully, with our staff, but we were all very professional, and a lot of us had seen some stuff, so we could stay calm in situations, which is like the key, right? And we ran into that a lot. A lot of black officers couldn't work with white people because they'd be like, "Oh, he's out to get me," you know, and it's all the mental illness, really. And it was kind of sad, but the doctors would be like, "Hey, listen, you're in for a long day. You have to switch out with somebody else," and they would just tell you, and we would have to go through the ranks in the morning and be like, "All right, is so and so here?" And they'd be like, "Oh, I got to work with this guy again," because we do a lot of one-on-one, security officer and patient, one-on-one. You know, you're in the room together all day, period, end of conversation. And we had to, you know, you got stuck with, you know, one guy, and there we had racist guys come in, and you know, sometimes it's a long day, and yeah, something like that. And we did have a guy who did have PTSD. And we didn't know until, you know, I mean, he was in situation after situation, it was fine. And then one day he lost it. And I actually had to pull him off. I had to pull him off of a patient.
Yep.
And he was my boss. And I don't know, something was going bad at home. Like he came in, there was two of us holding a guy. He came in and just right between the two of us took the guy down, had him like arm wrapped around. I reached for his face and I was like, okay, let's.
Yeah,
and
that's what we heard. We'd heard about that. That's scary.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, you know, there's a big difference when you see a guy like an MMA fighter. They're trained to fight. That's what they're trained. They're trained to punch you and try to knock you out. They're trained to like hurt you. And then there are military people that are trained to kill. That is different. Right. They're not there to hurt you. They're there to end you. And I've run into both. And you can tell the difference immediately. And shit gets real quick. So on this particular case, like, I'm not versed on everything that had happened, but I can tell you the mental illness is probably on not only her, but obviously the officer as well.
Yeah,
and if
that's
you're
what
in
I'm
a
saying
situation
too.
like that, if you pull a gun on somebody, like, and you're aiming at their head, that's a kill shot, and that officer is obviously trained to kill. He's not there to, you know, subdue the person or something like that.
Right.
You know, you could shoot somebody in the shoulder.
That's that military training, because you know most police are taught send a mass. Police stations and police officers are taught send a mass. Military is completely different. So it's crazy. Somebody just said in the chat, Dan said I might get hate for it, but as an artist and using colors every day, I can verify that we're all orange. Google it. we're just differently shaded Oompa Loompas. Stop the hate and just dance. That's like the little viral video of the little girl about Peach. Her mother's telling her that she's white. She's like, I'm not white. I'm Peach. Oh, man. Great stuff. Yeah. Okay, we got to move. I got to move on here. The last story in the legal booth, we touched base on this, but one of the guys, Liam Collins, I think his name was Liam Collins, Liam Collins from Rhode Island. He got the most, 10 years. If you guys don't remember this story, up in the Northwest, the power grid, these three guys were conspiring to blow up the power grid in the Northwest and take all the power out. Two of these guys One of them is Liam from Rhode Island. They're ex-Marines. Domestic terrorism. This is the crazy stuff. This isn't the first batch of guys. We shared a couple of stories. This is the scary stuff, people. You have homegrown domestic terrorists who have received military training, and they're out there using their skills to commit domestic terrorism. This is, and we talk about the movie Civil War and things of that sort. I've got my own guy on the show, Robert Resnick, who's a U.S. military colonel, Army colonel, JAG officer, retired. And some of the scary things we talk about he's handled cases where people are white supremacists or they're gang members, but yet they're in the military, getting that training and stay hidden. But then something happens and you realize who they are or what they are. And granted, these people, they're quietly kicked out of the military, but guess what? They'll have that effing training. That's the scary part. So they take these little trainings back to their MS-13 gangs, or they take this training back to their white supremacist militia. That's some scary stuff, people. These are the things that we need to really, you got to think about and really start to converse, because there's really nothing you can do to stop it. This has been going on. There was a movie many years ago. There was a movie, Stone Cold was the name of that movie.
Yeah.
Hell's Angels had infiltrated the court system. They had their own people in the court systems, and it was deep. And it was this crazy action movie with Brian Bosworth. But the whole premise of this movie was that it was this Hell's Angels type motorcycle gang had infiltrated and was running drugs and guns, but they had cops on the payroll. Not cops on the payroll, but they had actual bikie members who were in the police force, bikie members who were in the judicial. And now we're hearing that this is true. We had a story here in Massachusetts 2 years ago in Revere. The MS-13 was brought down because they had a teacher who was in MS-13, and he was recruiting kids in high school to be an MS-13. So this is a gang member who goes through, gets his degrees and stuff to become a teacher, and he's not really there to be a teacher. He's there to recruit kids. That's his main focus. His focus wasn't to be a teacher. That's some scary shit right there. That's next level scary shit. And the only reason why this guy got caught was because a hit was put out on a kid, and the person couldn't go through with it, and they called the feds. The whole thing opened up, bringing down I think 20 people up getting caught. That's
crazy.
Scary. Yeah, that's some scary stuff. Scary stuff. Let's move on here and get into, I think we're going into, one more Legal Boost story. Gina Carano. Oh my God, I love her. Gina Carano moved to tears. She won her lawsuit against Disney. For those who don't remember, she was on The Mandalorian. She was actually on her way to getting a spinoff. Her character, I predicted, was going to get a spinoff from The Mandalorian. And she went on this whole tirade about Donald Trump and things of that sort. She was a big Trump supporter, and they fired her. The problem here is that they fired Gina Carano, but they didn't fire Pedro Pascal, who was the Mandalorian. And that's where Disney effed up. You can't fire Gina Carano, who was a sub-character on The Mandalorian, and then let the star go on Instagram and say all the things. And like I said, you're entitled to your opinions. But when you're in the workplace, you can't fire one person and let another person stay. Realistically, Disney should have fired Pedro Pascal, too, for the shit that he was saying. So she won her case. She was moved to tears. And Elon Musk, here we go again. Elon Musk funded her whole legal fees for the lawsuit. Remember when I said pay attention, people? Pay attention. Oh my God. So it's curious to see if Disney definitely isn't going to take Gina Carano back. But she'll get some acting jobs now. Because right now, while this case was going on, she wasn't getting any acting jobs. So we'll see. Let's get into the Biden bombshells. There's only one Biden bombshell story. Joe Biden who we know is definitely all done. He won't be running a second term. He's now stepped out. But Joe Biden says before he gets out of office, guess what? He's going to lay out a plan to reform the entire Supreme Court. I actually, when Trump first put his people in, I was like, you know what? They're doing a good job. They're doing everything by the land of the law. They're being fair. And then they flipped Roe versus Wade. When they flipped Roe versus Wade, they said, something is going on here. And then Clarence Thomas got busted getting money from elitists. He was getting flown all over the place. He was getting all these trips. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute here. You're a SCOTUS judge. Hold on a second. And then we had all this other stuff pop up. And then we just recently had the stuff where they just ruled that Donald Trump can't be charged. So now it's coming. Supreme Court reform. President Biden says before he gets out of office, he is definitely going to reform the Supreme Court. I know everybody's kind of divided on this, but I know if I'm going to ask my guys next week, my legal guys are on next week, first Tuesday. R-Squared's a military guy. I'm going to ask him right front up. Does he agree with Joe Biden on this? I think R-Squared going to say yes. I think he's going to say he agrees with it because R-Squared has been calling out a couple of the SCOTUS judges and saying some of these guys might really be not on the take, but there are some conflicting relationships with people. It's bad. It's some scary stuff. So we got to get ready to get out of here. Before we get out of here, let me get up my outro banners here and let's talk about this here. Let's go here. I'll let my guy here say goodbye. These are the hats that are sold out. I know I keep teasing everybody. The beanies are all gone. Thank everybody for supporting those beanies. I got to get this shit done. All the shows I produce, Drafting the Circuits on Wednesday night, Oscar Mike Radio. Thursday nights co-produced Maddie C Sports on Sundays. Happy Hour with Lito. Kevin Jeffries, he's in the chat. Fubar Studios, Homeland Heroes, Salute Podcast, all those guys. Also Platinum City Gaming. Get on down there. Platinum City Gaming, he's got those retro games and things of that sort. Also, Brockton After Dark. One more month, people, for Brockton After Dark. Then school's back in session. 6 to 9, 10 to 18. Free dinner for the kids. Also, Bat Buses ride free till December 31st. And then the Brockton Carnival takes place Friday, August 2nd at Brockton High. Cars and Coffee, August 4th. That's this weekend, 8 to 12, VFW Memorial Field. I'm going to be at the parade in Fall River that day. Also, August 10th, that's the Broken Chains Biker Church Car and Bike Show. That's going to be August 10th. I'm going to try to get my ass to that. Movie night at DW Field Park. Their latest movie will be August 3rd in Canto. And then Teddy Goods, his last match in Brockton will be August 23rd. August 25th is Brockton Youth Family Fun Day at the East Middle School. Act 1, Scene 1, that's going to be winding down in a month. The school will be back in the session. Also, Fred Fontaine, he's running for state rep for the 11th District. Vote September 3rd. That's his banner that he sent to me to get on this show. If you're a politician and running for a spot, get it to me. I'll post it. I'm free. I don't charge nobody nothing. I want people to be aware of who to vote for and make sure everybody votes. Public Enemy, September 28th at the Big E. I'm thinking about going myself. Also, October 5th, IGY6, 2 Lives at Once. Travis Partington, good stuff for him. And then save the date for the Pink Out, October 19th. And that's it. My guy here, Joshua Dahlin, he's got his event coming up. I'm going to let him speak on this one more time. Let them know where to get these tickets and whatever.
Yeah, August 11th is the Dark Arts Festival. You can go to horrordepot.com. Their tickets are right on the homepage. There's a little blurb right there. If you click on it, you'll see it'll take you to the Dark Arts Festival page, and you'll see the entire rundown of all the vendors and all the special guests and all the things happening. And it's going to be a wild time. You can also pay at the door if you want to. Veterans are free. First responders are free. Children under 13 are free. And then the only other thing I have after that is September 7th, New England premiere of Graveyard Shark is happening at the Capitol Theater in Arlington, and that is 7 p.m. So that is also on the website on the homepage on the bottom, and if you click on it, it'll give you all that information, and the ticket link is also there for the Capitol. So you can find me at Horror Depot anywhere. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook, even Pinterest. So Keith, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks, man.
No problem. And one more time, guys, I know at the beginning of the show, I showed a nice little clip from History of the World Part 1. You guys, all these religious people were losing their minds over this stuff and going crazy. And all I got to say to all you guys is...
Lighten up, Francis.
Lighten up, Francis. Good old Stripes. But with that being said, all I got to say is thanks for everybody tuning in. Dan, I hope I made you a fan. You can tune in every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We did go a little bit over tonight because we had good discussion. Whenever I have a good guest on, we went over. It's 8:47. I'm like 47 minutes over, but my damn show, my damn podcast, my show's live. I can do what the F I want. So if anybody wants to come out here and say some stuff to me, you can just leave it in the security box. Somebody will get to it. SpongeBob, do me a favor. Take us home.
Well, see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for listening to The Booth on Hoobazoo and HatcherRadio.com. Please follow the Facebook page and subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. The Booth is a Sinister One production hosted by Sinister One.
I've got to start hanging out with friends that are a little more intelligent and understand politics and stuff. It's just that I'm up on this level up here, and all my friends are down here. Me, nah. You guys, nah. Maybe a little more down in here. Screw you guys, I'm going home.
I smoke, I drink, I do my thing. These bitches hating, so you know I got to make it plain. Don't do cocaine with your chick, my main. We stick together, true forever, yeah, you know we bang. I miss those days, which was easy. If only I make it, bitch, don't repeat. Now that I done upgraded, I've been upstate, and y'all think I'm playing. And I got a hit now for these weak ass hoes who think I ain't slaying. Try me, and I'll probably end up laughing, cause I never back down. I'm that chick with a clean ass whip, I don't need that shit, I got my own now. I get hurt, I get tired of fussing, fighting, guess I gotta crack down. Don't mess with me, cause on everything, I'ma have to bring the whole city out.
WHOOBAZOO, that's Hoobazoo.com.
Enter your website, enter your website, enter your website, enter your website.